I have one roommate, and he also was symptomatic around the same time as me. Got tested shortly after I received my positive, and he also tested positive. I started feeling a little bit symptomatic, but not really during like Tuesday afternoon. And I was like, I don't feel 100%. Like maybe it's a good idea to just go get tested again. And then that night I got fevers and it was actually during my math midterm, which is really horrible timing. So while my math midterm was going on, I was like, this is getting worse and worse. I even like took my temperature and like put it up on the screen so I could show that I had a fever. When the symptoms started getting worse, I was like, wow, like I was sort of under the assumption that the false assumption and the dangerous assumption that as a healthy, 19-year-old, it would be relatively mild. It was pretty tough for like 3 days. Like it was like, just like some of the, not like a regular cold, like it was worse than that. It was like high fevers and then after that, after like the fourth day, it died down significantly. Like after the third day of symptoms, I'd never got a fever again. You can hear my roommate coughing in the background.
I had an in-person class with 6 people, and one of the people in that class had taken his COVID test like 2 days before, and he was asymptomatic, so he came to class, and then the next day he got his results back and found out that he had COVID. I was in 3 in-person classes when the quarter started. It was 2 bands, and it was rev class. Those were the 3 classes I had in person. Of these 3 classes, both of the bands, I had 1 rehearsal with 1 band, and I didn't even have a single rehearsal with the other band before there was a COVID case tangentially related to Beanon. You have to quarantine for 2 weeks, and you have to get tested between 5 to 7 days of your exposure. You have to do a daily isolation survey, and it's like the same thing that you have to do on the symptom tracker app when you're on campus, which is like, no, I have not had new symptoms. No, I have not broken my quarantine. No, I do not need anything from the university. And then you just submit it every day. I wish that we could get our COVID results back sooner so that what happened and it doesn't happen more. But that is not like anything we can change because it's like a whole testing facility thing.
One of my family members who I'm living with tested positive for COVID. We initially all thought that we were going to have it because the one family member who tested positive, he was sort of around the house. We were trying to stay as distant from each other as possible. We had masks on, which, was a bit weird doing that in your own home. The mental aspect of it was like, oh, I could have COVID. That would really suck. And even though it may not, impact me in a very bad way, like it may just be a very minor case. I may not have any symptoms at all. It still really sucked because just there's sort of this like, I don't know. It was sort of like there's this mental baggage.
I was the one in my house who tested positive, so I was the one who had to go into isolation. It was definitely hard to get a positive result knowing that you did everything you could to prevent it. And that's, I think, just a symptom of living in a global pandemic. At the beginning, we had no idea like what was going to happen because I wasn't having any symptoms and I was just like scared, obviously, and upset that I could have potentially spread it to all these people. And so I got that phone call at 9 a.m. letting me know how long my isolation was, and she was just checking on like my symptoms and everything. My experience with the city of Evanston contact tracers was wonderful. The woman I talked to named Mary was so lovely. She was asking me how I was feeling, and she just kind of like had me go throughout my like day and explain to her who I saw and who she should contact and everything, and that was great. Northwestern, not so much. Theirs was just a lot more, I think. There was a lot of miscommunications. It felt like there were too many steps that is just hard for them to keep up with, like the email and the multiple different phone calls, and I just think their process could be a little bit more streamlined. I think it was just kind of confusing because I would get information a little too late, or there was conflicting information given to me or my roommates, and so I definitely think it could have been an easier process. It could happen to anyone. I was so shocked because I was trying to be as safe as possible, and it's just like, it's a pandemic. Like, it's a virus that we don't really know how it works, and so like the best thing you can do is go by CDC guidelines and wear masks everywhere and limit the number of people that you're seeing closely, and yeah, just do the best that you can.